Gentlemen, let me ask you something most men never stop to question. What if everything you think you know about what she enjoys is only half true? Not completely wrong, but not completely right either. Because here's what happens in real life. Not in movies, not in fantasy, but in quiet, honest moments women rarely speak about out loud. She's there with you. She's present. She might even be smiling. But inside, she's waiting for it to feel different, waiting for something to actually connect, waiting for you to notice what no one ever taught you to notice. And the truth is, this isn't about effort. Most men are trying. They're doing what they've always done. The same positions, the same rhythm, the same approach they've relied on for years, sometimes decades. But here's the part that changes everything. Female pleasure doesn't respond to repetition. It responds to alignment. Alignment with her body, alignment with her nervous system, alignment with how connection actually works biologically, not visually. And once you understand that, everything shifts, because now you're not just doing something. You're creating an experience she actually feels. So before we even talk about positions, there's one key you need to unlock first. Miss this, and nothing else matters. Because the biggest mistake men make, they focus on depth, speed, and performance. Like it's a task to complete. Like more effort equals more pleasure. But biology says something very different. For most women, internal movement alone is not enough. Not because something is wrong, but because the most sensitive areas aren't where most men think they are. They're external, they're subtle, and they require consistency, not intensity. Think of it like this. Pleasure isn't about how far you go. It's about how well you stay connected, because the moment you lose that connection, her body disconnects too. And when that happens, it doesn't matter what position you're in. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Because once you understand this principle, certain positions start to make a lot more sense. Not because they look impressive, but because they work quietly, consistently, effectively. Let's start with something most men underestimate, the side-by-side position. At first glance, it looks simple, maybe even boring. But what most men don't realize is that simplicity is exactly why it works. There's no pressure, no awkward angles, no strain, just smooth, natural alignment. And here's the key. It allows closeness, real closeness. Your bodies move together, not against each other. Your breathing syncs. Your presence becomes part of the experience. And suddenly, it's not about performance anymore. It's about connection. Now imagine this. Instead of focusing on movement, you focus on rhythm. Small, controlled, intentional. That's where sensation builds. Not in force, but in consistency. Now let's move to something more engaging, the seated position. This is where things shift from comfort to connection. Because now there's eye contact. Now there's presence. Now she's not just feeling, she's seeing you. And that changes everything. Because emotional connection amplifies physical sensation. Her body relaxes, her guard lowers. And when that happens, her responsiveness increases naturally. But here's where most men go wrong. They become passive, they sit back, and let everything happen. And in doing that, they break the connection they just created. Instead, stay engaged, not forceful, not controlling, just present. Your hands, your attention, your awareness. Because attraction grows when she feels you're with her, not just there. Now let's talk about something that's often misunderstood. Missionary. Most men think it's basic, predictable, but that's only because they're doing it wrong. Because when done correctly, it becomes one of the most effective ways to create both physical and emotional connection. The difference? Angle, pressure, movement. Not pushing, but aligning. Not speed, but rhythm. When your bodies stay connected, consistently, her body responds differently, more naturally, more deeply. Because now, everything is working together. And here's something important. You don't need to be athletic. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be aware. Now let's shift perspective, because one of the most powerful dynamics happens when control changes, when she's on top. And this is where many men misunderstand the situation. They think it's about stepping back, letting her take over completely. But that's not connection. That's disengagement. Instead, stay involved, guide gently, support naturally, because when she feels both freedom and connection, that's when comfort turns into confidence. And confidence changes everything. Now, here's the position most men think they understand, but rarely use correctly: rear entry. It's often associated with intensity, but intensity without awareness doesn't create satisfaction. In fact, it often does the opposite, because without adjustment, it can miss the areas that matter most. But when modified, when slowed down, aligned, and supported, it becomes something completely different, more controlled, more connected, more effective. And here's the pattern you should be noticing by now. The best positions aren't about extremes. They're about balance, between movement and stillness, between control and softness, between effort and awareness. Now let's talk about what to avoid. Because sometimes, what you stop doing matters more than what you start doing. First, the unstable environments, situations that look exciting, but remove control, comfort, and safety. When the body is tense, distracted, or uncomfortable, pleasure drops instantly, no matter how it looks. Second, overcomplicated positions, the ones that require flexibility, strain, or unnatural angles. They don't enhance connection, they interrupt it. Because when the body is struggling, it's not relaxing. And without relaxation, there is no real pleasure. Now here's something most men never consider: the pause. Not stopping completely, but slowing down intentionally, holding her, breathing with her, letting the moment settle. Because when two people sync their breathing, their nervous systems begin to align, and that creates a level of connection that no position alone can achieve. And this, right here, is what separates average experiences from unforgettable ones. Not technique, not complexity, but awareness. Because when you understand how her body responds, you stop guessing, you stop performing, and you start connecting. And here's the final truth most men don't expect: this doesn't fade with age. In fact, it often improves. Because experience replaces ego, awareness replaces assumption, and connection replaces performance. So the question isn't which position is best. The real question is, are you paying attention to what actually works? Because once you do, everything changes, not just for her, but for you too. And the next time you're in that moment, you won't be wondering what to do. You'll already know. Because now, you understand the difference between doing more and doing it right.